Hello there. Once again, this is yours truly, Clarice T. And it's been a while since I've been on this platform, the podcast. But in this podcast, I hope that there will be video and that you would get to see the video, although for the copyright strikeout that I want to avoid, I just would filter some um, some parts that and I will refrain from showing the video, and also because this camera had been I don't know, surprisingly the pause button is missing, so it's going to run its course and I cannot pause it. So you would have to bear with me if there would be some interruptions. Well, anyway, today is the 10th of December 2024. It's a Tuesday, and somehow it's not raining anymore, but it's still very dark outside. And I don't know if the rain will continue just like for the last 2 days. And well, anyway, um, this debate, actually, it was some sort of it had started like a good-natured opinion fest where the respect for each other was palpable, and that it was a promising beginning, in a way that there should not be any controversy given the lightheartedness, but just, I guess it's because of the nature, the subject matter, where one cannot remain on the fence, really, not really. If you, probably because if you are this intelligent, educated, and had been exposed to different persuasions, the apologetics from various persuasions, if you are the kind of scholars who have seen this, done that, have spoken, who have been at the side, the historical side, it will be unavoidable to arrive at set of beliefs out of those experiences, which unfortunately someone like me will benefit from watching, because the things that I would be saying in reaction would come from, the college dropout perspective. I'm holding on to the promise, or to the truth, that the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord, the fear of God. And for those who have known me, yes, definitely you have known me. Thank you so much. Yesterday did, I went on live streaming to say thank you for those who had supported and listened to my music. It's beyond my wildest dream. So I had each release that I had spent for came out of scrimping so tight, the tightest budgeting, that I had to forego some expenses to be able to save some, so I could self-produce those music releases. So understandably, the selection would not be extensive. It's, I think, more or less 15 songs that I had recorded. And thank you, District Kid. Thanks so much. Well, anyway, thank you. And so I from the get-go. When the video had started, it was endorsed actually. Um, I was motivated to watch it because of Nate Sala, the wise disciple, and he said, "You should." I mean, not to me in particular, but to his podcast, to his viewers, you should watch it. So, curiosity made me, and I had no intention of inserting myself to the already fast, um, controversial, usual turned extraordinary meeting of the minds and clashing of opinions that had unexpected twist. Right. As I was saying, it started as light-hearted. Oh, this is the first time I met you. Oh, I'm paraphrasing, and of course, I speak with my feminine self, so that's how it came across me. So it's gonna be, the usual. I'm going to probably halfway. I unfortunately I cannot finish this whole video because I need to do something else. So many things are awaiting me, and so that's what I planned. And then the more I listened, I realized that these two um, persons who are on opposite sides of a belief or a set of beliefs, quoting from sources that they hold to be an authority for the creation of their opinions and beliefs and viewpoints. If I consider myself as unconventionally trained and um, self-taught with my researches, they came from the enviable, conventional, and worthy of the probably the diploma and the invitation to speak that probably they've been getting because they can be considered as authority to their respective field. Unfortunately, the moderator did not introduce his name, so I'm still not giving up hope that I can encounter the name. That's why it reminds me, always, don't take for granted that um, you are already known. So I always make it a point, especially me, I always make it a point to introduce myself for those first time watcher. And I truly hope that the name, because he has some interesting insights and predicament that I want to chime in, that I want to react to in a good way, of course. So since there is no pause button, you'd have to stay with me as I play the video and just let you in on the audio to avoid copyright strike.
Hi, what's up everyone? And I'm trying to move this stuff.
That's the moderator.
And Bill do an awesome job editing this intro to make it way more fancy than this. But I'm here with my good man, Billy Carson.
Billy Carson,
who I've known Billy personally for some years now.
Yeah.
Solid friend, great character, businessman. He's been on Elevating Beyond last time, sharing your whole story behind the story. And what you hugely specialize in as well, you just came back from Egypt, is like the emerald tablets, You've been studying those since what, you were like 6 or something?
No, not the Emerald Tablets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Emerald Tablets I've been studying for the last probably 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, but since I was 6, I was studying.
So both of them, Billy Carson and Wesley can be considered scholars, and they are continuous study, like the artifacts. They've been to Egypt, the cradle of civilization. I can only wear a costume, an Egyptian costume, but for them, they were literally there, and they got to hold and study the the artifacts, those things that we only get to read.
Aerospace technology, which then led me into understanding more about advanced technologies, and then finding the link between advanced technology and ancient civilizations, and going on literally a 25-year, it's at 27-year now, goodness, trek around the world. Been around the world now over 18 times. Last year spent 9 months in hotels.
I remember.
As you know, you're my witness. Leaving this big old mansion behind and not going home at all. And
travel grind.
Traveling nonstop to these ancient sites to get the information hands-on.
Okay.
To get the information firsthand, hands-on. So there are different sources of information, like knowledge and reaching your knowledge. So they are doing it hands-on, not through the product of research and through other means.
And that was weird. I just heard a little chant. Wes, you there?
And the other one is Wesley. Wait.
Be too easy if it works perfect.
I am expounding on the contrast, because the background of these gentlemen and my background will somehow give everyone a clue how we are the person that we are today. We are a product of our experiences, the accumulation of knowledge and information, the experience, the life as it had been for us. So the contrast for someone like them and like me, it's laughable, right? And I have already gotten more than my share of the laughter and because it's truly, there's no comparison. But bear with me.
Heresies and stuff through over religious practices would be like, no, you have to come through the head of this church to be blah blah blah,
Right.
And personally, and we're about to get Wes on, so we can have two really smart people in this talking about it, but I'm just breaking it down to my level of my understanding. That's been what really drew me in, is kind of when Jesus came and flipped all that on its head and was like, no, we're not, what was it, like the Pharisees, like what were the hype? He's like, we're not having to go through all the rules. He's like, they're actually worse than this thief right here, and really looked at what was in people's hearts,
Right.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. I know it has been for my life. Yeah. But so Wes, now that we got you on, Wesley Huff, historian, linguist, biblical scholar, PhD, and athlete wannabe. I like how you threw that in the bio right there. And Wesley, my man, I think it would be great to, I know you guys were both recently in Egypt. There's tons that I'm interested in that. How all these things show up in Egypt is baffling to me. But just going right to it, I had here, Billy, you talk about how Jesus was never crucified, which is interesting because my wife, who's a Muslim, they believe that as well. Their beliefs, from what I understand from her, are they don't think that Jesus, as they believe, is a prophet, God would have him killed. But I don't think they have any historical evidence, as far as I know, as to what or how or why they believe that. I'm curious for you guys both, and if you want to, I guess, go first, Billy, as to how you came about, like the findings where it seems that Jesus was not crucified, or that's not accurate.
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible.
Sinai
Okay.
Bible.
According to the Sinai Bible.
So the references could come from the most sophisticated library and long-held tradition of being the maverick. Like if there's Christian orthodoxy, there are some here and there a different narrative. So the first order of the day for them, the first conflict would be the truthfulness of our Christian belief. We have anchored our belief that Jesus Christ was crucified, but according to another Bible, the Sinai Bible, I didn't know there was such a Bible. Anyway, it had a different narrative, a different story. And they would be speaking from their sources, of course. And the traditional Bible bearing the fact that Jesus Christ was crucified, and then this one
Jesus.
believe that there is some truth to the narrative that Jesus Christ, even the Muslim, according to the moderator, don't believe that Jesus was ever crucified. So for them, truly, Jesus was a historical figure that lived. That even they can confirm that, but as to the crucifixion, so they don't really follow that belief.
And crucified in that Bible. That Bible predates the King James Version of the Bible. And the text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James Version of the Bible, which came much later. And then also, one of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary, which, according to some scholars, that's a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married, which then, adds more, if that's true, it adds more to, the hypothesis that maybe he wasn't crucified. I just personally believe that Jesus was an amazing human being. I don't think that he was the Son of God in the sense that he's God, but that we're all gods. As he said, ye are gods, and that we're to do greater things in him. And I just personally believe that the return of the Christ is the return of the Christ consciousness. When we can all achieve a certain level of knowledge, wisdom, passion.
Okay, at this point, I want to summarize it for the time constraint. Anyway, Mr. Carson believed that there are also the hypothesis that Jesus had a wife. It reminds me of the time in my life I had friends, and that friend, he's gay. Anyway, it's a debate for another time. But during our exchanges, of course, to the intellectual level of our faith, he had asked me about Jesus, and of course, I shared, the conventional, the hand-down set of facts, because I grew up in a Catholic Christian home, somewhat. And so, but he said, in quite in a what in a whispered, like, how do you term that? Yeah, some sort of like, hey, you know what? Have you considered that there might be some truth in the underground, the buzz underground, that the majority of Christians or the Christian authorities had been squeezed, what's that? Trying to suppress, yeah. That they are suppressing the from um, from being a sort of contending narrative, right? Planting a seed of doubt in the faithful's mind, in the minds and the hearts of the faithful, in the flock. Like, do you know that? From authoritative sources, Jesus Christ is really Jesus, not the Christ. Jesus was gay. Yes, there was a historical figure, Jesus, and that he was gay, and or he was, and if it turned out that there is another rumor, another contrarian, that Jesus was indeed married, and that he was not really the highly exalted Son of God, because we're all sons of God, and that from the every important, I would call, the cornerstones had been challenged. So throughout the history, there isn't brainwashing, or the intellect of the faithful had been suppressed in order to swallow hook, line, and sinker the great propagandist that's the church, and that everyone must ignore common sense, intelligence, in order to become a good follower of Jesus. So this is I do not have source, like I can quote from the book of this and the book of that, and I can just present the things that had dominated my life for the past, how many decades? Wherein, West half is a Canadian, right? When my daughter was just a baby, no. While I was pregnant with Jacqueline, I was already in the church, and that I was so down because we didn't plan on having another baby, and it was immediately, my eldest was just a baby, 1 year old, when I got pregnant with my second baby. So the couple who saved the day for me was Bob and Karen. Bob and Karen will forgive me for forgetting the last name, but I know that our common friends, that's Joe Aguilar and Heidi Aguilar, the Doris, all our friends would help me out and would forgive me, because this generous couple had met June, But for if they will come now, they will be, I would receive them as my hero, because the real, at the point of the lowest point of our life, they came across and helped us. Karen gave me the booty or the complete set so that I could have smooth, not smooth, but a better pregnancy with a better mindset. Sharing the things, brand new baby things and all those goodies from Canada. And I am just, I cannot forget Bob and Karen and their kids, except that I have forgotten their last name. Anyway, they will come across now. They will be my hero, but they would be some sort of, they would be the villain of those who would not believe that that June or Joaquin had fathered my children, and that he was the man who I had married here in Lucena City. Why? Because it serves a purpose, a greater good. Now, it serves a greater good for me not to have that personal information like the civil status and the name of the husband. So the people who will attest to how they had been part of my early marriage, my early married life, and our circumstances back then, how we were able to cope in spite of, who were the real people that they had spoken with. I think somehow, I would not even, call them to be my reference, because somehow I would not be confident in how they will fare with the testimony, with the formal testimony of based on their personal knowledge. Why? So if Jesus, somehow it was serving a purpose. The parallel. It was serving a cause that to them it's a righteous cause. To them it's against bigotry. If people will continue to say and believe that, no, Jesus had been single all his life, all his earthly life, they could say, why does Jesus condemn marriage? It's like if he stands for the fact that he had been single, did he had something against marriage? So he's anti-marriage, right? Why does a very benign differences of belief, why should they matter? Like for me, okay, what's past is past. I had been married at 19. I had married this man. Why would changing, or why is the alteration of my real personal information be a bad thing if it will serve the greater good, right? Like Jesus being married, and Jesus being gay, Jesus being bisexual, it would send the message that he is not homophobic, that he is not against the set of beliefs that condemn people, something like that. So it will serve a purpose. So it's these two speakers for the set of beliefs that are poles apart are um, in their way, they are serving the the purpose from which, um, like the Bible, the King James version, it has been written. We believe that it has been written to serve a purpose, right? It's the same thing with the what's that? The Sinai Bible. It is also written to serve a purpose, and this purpose is being carried out by the speaker. So it's really going to be a matter of belief. Somehow, um, the people are being given two contending narratives. In deciphering, okay, if it's mutually exclusive, that a person who is single, who had never been married, can never be a married person even for a day in his life, because it will belie the whole narrative. If like he had been married, or he had an intimate relationship, like with Mary Magdalene, something like that, it would belie, it would throw away the Bible as a inaccurate, not trustworthy set of beliefs, that it should not be elevated as it is. It can be an interesting, entertaining, and somehow it provides life lessons for self-help, but it's not. It shouldn't be that a sacred and absolute set of truths, right? So both set of references, sources of information and knowledge have their proponents, and it's unavoidable for the clashes to take place. Now that it had been, it's said that it's going to be litigated. If it's not, they could not reach probably, the mediation, the first mediation, if they would not agree to, forgive and let it go as a small matter, then it's gonna be litigated. And for those of us who have watched this video, what I want to share is how I look at the controversies. For me, I believe that Mr. Huff, Wes Huff, is an able person. In his stature, he can argue with someone like Mr. Carson, Billy Carson, because of their college degrees, their life experiences, the amount of time and resources they spent on their discipline. But for me, I cannot even go there because I do not have the right worldly attributes to be called an educated person. But for me, I would look upon these controversies as someone who is in a relationship. God didn't, tell us that, in a way, did not expect us, like within a day, to get to know Him. In a relationship, we disagree with the other partner, be it in friendship, be it in a working relationship, or conjugal relationship between married couples. If you are in a relationship and something has come up that we do not agree with, we are uncertain, we do not actually throw, usually in an ideal relationship, we do not take that disagreement as the end all be all of the relationship. We continue to grow, and then somehow we either got convinced or we convinced the other person that someone is right, between the married couples, between the friends. Okay, you agree to disagree agreeably for now. Let's set it aside. But because of the commitment to be in a relationship, we can continue to get to know each other, so that the next time we are confronted with the same differences, it would be either that by faith, I know this person knows more than me, and that he can really have the last word on the, like the accuracy of his knowledge over mine, or that the other person will be convinced that we are in the right, but it's all in the context of a relationship and not a quiz bee, and not in a a contest. We are not contestants. We are not in a tug of war. It's always in a context of a relationship, and the differences of opinion. God says this. How do I know that God said this? Because it's written in the Bible that I believe to be an authority over His words, over the things that He wants to tell. He had wanted to reveal to us. But I really do not agree with that. But we are in a relationship, right? So we trust that over time we can go back to the old source of conflict and see it with more maturity. Take for instance, if I can argue as a 16-year-old person, the points that I will spew out of my mouth will be different from when I was 30 years old, when I am at this age. So it would be different, right? And so the things that the differences that married or not, it's a big deal actually. It's not something to gloss over. It affects the very the cornerstone of my faith, in the same way that Bill, I don't know, Wes had asked first and foremost, what is your source? What is the source of your information? And I find it to be very wise, because whenever I had problem in my identification, which had taken me some decades to resolve, and it would always come out, the sources of information, whether it is accurate. It was pointing me out to where I should go and correct it if it's wrong, if it's not accurate, and do so without putting people in problem, putting them on the spot. It would be like if God is sufficient to be my anchor, to be the one who is my reference, and to be my counsel, and to be my lawyer. I did not have to endanger people who truly were there, who had gotten to talk with June, who knew for a fact that we did not he was alive at the time that I was considered a widow, and that here in the Philippines, because there is no divorce, that we had remained married, that even though it will not, at first glance, that fact, the truth, will not serve any purpose except mine, and I would be very self-centered by insisting on the truth. Still, I believe that I could understand the others, where if it's really a willful and intentional alteration and change of facts, that they believe that they are serving a better cause than mine, who is taking it, who is a stickler for the facts as they are. And that's the same thing. I may not quote from this library, the Harvard library, or the works of this scholar who had researched for all his life, but I can quote from my experiences, from being the person who had to defend my real identification and had to my cause was pitted against another cause, and what was going for me was that I truly believe that it is the right path, and what was going against me was a very popular and very logical, very 1 + 1 = 2 kind of logic, that it doesn't take faith to discern or to present and to believe. Whereas with me, it will take the explanation of who God is, what He is to us. So with me, it's so many, we don't need those kinds of, intimate knowledge about the divine, we are not interested in that. We are very practical, something like that. So it's the same way. It all boils down to the choices. And for now, you can watch the whole thing, the debate. But I want to address the part about the moderator when he said that, the Old Testament is so hard to accept, or there were so many things that the harsh God and the cruel God who killed and compare it with Jesus came and He's gentle and He's meek. So I want to identify myself to Jesus, to this Jesus, and not to the God of the Old Testament. I want to I do not know the exact verse, but Jesus is the one who said, I am the way, the truth, and life. I mean, if Jesus is just the way, so He was not competing. There is no competition between the Father and the Son, or if you don't believe Jesus is the Son, between the Almighty God and the one who would redeem us, right? So if your mindset is that there is a competition, then there is a problem, because Jesus said, I am the way. When He said, I am the way to what? So what is the final destination? And who was there? Who was inhabiting that place where Jesus is the way? I am the way, the truth, and the life. So what He was saying would be that there is a God the Father, and that there is no competition. And finally, I want to recall this thing that had happened while I was young. My cousin was playing with my toy and it got broken, and because I was young, I was really that toy was a very much awaited gift from my mother or from my father, and that when I had finally received it, and I was just taking a bath, my young cousin was there, and I saw that he was playing it with it, and then when I snatched it, and it looked like it was not working anymore. I think it was a play hair dryer or hair blower. Anyway, it's a toy. It's a girl's toy. And I yelled at him, and I guess he had not forgotten it since me too. And so my uncle and my aunt went there to look at what had been happening, and my mother was also there. And so it was like this. Why the moderator's question had been why had God called David a man after my own heart when he was so flawed, and that his sin was not an ordinary kind of. There are more, yeah. I can just paraphrase it according to how I had understood him, that some men were more. Isn't God a good judge of character? Why would he choose David over others who did not commit the same gravity of sin that for him was unforgivable? And he was questioning truly the God of the Old Testament. So I am formulating it how best to explain my own perspective about it. Now, this toy that I said that had been broken, it is mine, right? Should if the apologies had to be given by the one who had broke it, should it be directed to the toy that is mine? It's mine, or the apologies should be given to my parents? Would the apologies should be given to me because I own it, or the toy? It's unthinkable to say the apologies to the toy, right? It's either to be because I own it. So it's the recognition of the ownership. I know that others can explain it better, but really, the Christmas lights. Speaking of the Christmas lights, I have it here. We have two kinds of system, like the Christmas lights, wherein one is dependent on the other. That if one bulb gets to be gets busted, then all the Christmas lights will not work anymore. Or the Christmas lights wherein this part can stand on its own, it does not depend on others to remain lighted, to remain empowered. It's the same thing. Do I regard that person as the end all be all owner of himself? That if I hurt him, I hurt only him, that whatever I do for him, I only do for him? Or is it that I regard another person as someone's workmanship, someone's image? that the creator is not the interloper of the human laws and the human interactions. That's like an unwanted guest or a benevolent uncle, a generous uncle, or a slot machine, but actually the owner. That if I get to be her, it would be it would not just be me, but the one who owns me. So in the same way that it is a tragedy to lose, for a race to be to be wiped out. But that is the recognition of the sovereign will, and that the things that being taught back then was not exclusively within that time frame, but looking in the future, what will how all the human history will finally reach the conclusion. So it's a matter of belief. But to say that this tragedy is the reason why one cannot believe or worship a God, that could be the reason. That is a very honest, though a willful decision, because it's not recognizing the status, the belief system. It's like I am sorry that so much lives had been lost for the sake of humanity. And another way, and it's a different entirely. If I say that, it is such a tragedy to lose a group of, people who had made choices that are, that can be considered as independent. They can operate on their own. They can exist. They can feel sorry and celebrate for humanity's sake. So for me, I would rather regard how when we lose that source of power, everything in us will be wasteful. Would be it's all examined from that perspective. My regret would be, yes, their lives were lost, but more so that they had lost it in rebellion, not recognizing, not choosing, not giving God a chance, to prove the truth behind all the things that could make us happy, or that could make life, however short or long, meaningful. So it's not grieving for the sake of grieving, but always in light of the eternity, or the afterlife. So these things are waste of energy and waste of time listening to for some. But for those who would regard it as yes, it enhances what I believe. It's another way of looking at it. It's another way of saying it. I don't think we are the Christmas light that when one part has been busted, we would continue to be a good, productive human without being connected to the source of power. So, stated like that, truly what comes next would be the volition. Do I believe her or do I laugh at her? And do I believe, just like how it's going to end with Billy Carson and Wes Hoffman, who would I believe? So it's all a matter of choice, and I believe that truly is what the best anyone can do for another person, to provide and respect the person's God-given volition, and to pray. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to Bob and to Karen of Canada. I haven't forgotten, although I have forgotten your last name, your family name. And anyway, I am past the point where I could rage against being the person who will serve the greater purpose if the truth that I know to be truth would be held to be real and as it is. So I had to contend with the man's perspective of the greater good. So by sticking with the perspective that factors in the divine plan, the divine origin, I have to be prepared to run smack against the belief that Jesus had been bisexual, like the gender. Yeah, they had talked about the gender, the use of pronoun of he and she. I truly am very thankful for the explanation. How? Because even us women are created in the image of God. There is a part, the man as God has created him is complemented by another side of God that he manifested in the female. So God has, everything is under control, needless to say. And that, what you call that? It's actually for us not to be confused. Like, can you imagine if God is described as both man and woman, that what is that term, like a plant that is both male and female? Hemophilia is for the blood disorder, but yeah, it is an abnormality, really, right? So in order to have some kind of order, to fill up a design, just like a machine to function properly, everyone has been given a function and a purpose. So, but if one is too busy, if one is too much time to contemplate, to rage against nature, and to be so unhappy and discontented, the discontent can flourish into really something regretful. So thank you for 1 hour. This is the longest stream that I'm going to have recorded. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.